Hi there. In this session, it's my aim to get you associating and using the Dorian mode with a chord. Having learnt how to play the Dorian mode, it only seems right that we should now continue on and have a look at the intervals contained within this mode. And along our way, I'd like to introduce you to another type of triad, arpeggio, and chord. Hopefully you've been exploring the Dorian mode in different keys, but just to keep things familiar, I'm going to remain in the key of C major, so I'll base my examples and exercises using D Dorian. Okay, as we've learnt about any scale and to better understand the intervals contained within it, we can number the notes in sequence. So doing this with the notes that make up the mode of D Dorian, we'd have D as 1, E as 2, F is 3, G is 4, A is 5, B is 6, C is 7, and 8 is just an octave repeat of the first note. Now, applying what we've learnt about chord tones, which remember are just the first, third, fifth and seventh notes of any scale, from our sequence the chord tones of D Dorian are the notes D, F, A and C. And if we were to play these chord tones together at the same time, we'd quite obviously create a chord. This type of chord is referred to in music as a minor seventh. And because in this instance the root note is a D, we'd name this particular chord a D minor seventh. So, another connection we can make is that all chord tones of the Dorian mode spell out a minor seventh chord. Hear how once again we can outline the sound and character of this particular chord just using the notes from D Dorian. Hopefully by now you understand that by taking the first 3 chord tones of a scale creates a triad, and in this instance the D, F and A creates what we call a minor triad. As the root notes are D, we'd call this particular group of notes a D minor triad, and playing just these 3 notes together at the same time would create the chord of a D minor. So, filling in some more music theory basics, the notes of a minor triad played at the same time create a minor chord. Now, if we look at the intervals contained within our D minor triad, you'll soon understand how it gets its name. In music, the interval between the D and F is what's called a minor third. And just looking at the relative position of these 2 notes on the fingerboard, it's important to remember that you'll always find the interval of a minor third 1 string up and 2 frets back like this. So, we now know a D to an F is a minor third, and luckily for us we can move this shape anywhere on the fingerboard to give us another minor third interval, for example this time between the notes of B and D. As always, learning how to play the same intervals in different ways can only benefit you. So here's a different shape that you can use to spell out a minor third. From any root note, a minor third will always be found on the same string and up 3 frets like this. Moving on to the next interval, D to the A, hopefully you're beginning to recognise this as the interval of a fifth. See, it's the shape we've already encountered, up 1 string and up 2 frets from our root note. Okay, comparing this minor triad to another triad we know about, the major triad, the only difference between the 2 is the fact that, unsurprisingly, the minor triad contains a minor third. And the major triad contains a major third. So, to turn a major triad, in this case a D major triad like this, into a D minor triad, all we have to do is flatten, or move down by 1 fret, the third in the triad. So, root, third, fifth, and then flattening the third, we now have a D minor triad. And it's basically this flattening of the third that separates the two distinct sounds of major and minor. Now, adding the fourth chord tone, which is the note of C, to our D minor triad, has the effect of extending a D minor chord into a D minor 7th chord. Some of you may have seen or come across these minor 7th chords before, but as always it's worth remembering that this particular chord of a D minor 7th can be written down in a number of different ways. Hear how adding this extra note to the chord helps to soften the distinct sound of the minor triad, and we call it a minor 7th because the note we've added, in this case a C, is the 7th note of D Dorian.